My name is Nora Beckett. I am 29 years old, and I own a brownstone in Brooklyn. My mother was sitting across from me at my kitchen island, sliding a manila envelope toward my coffee cup like it was a peace offering. But I knew better. She smiled at me the way she always did when she wanted something, soft and warm, like butter melting on toast. "Sweetheart," she said, "just look at the papers. Your brother needs this more than you do." My brother Danny was leaning against my refrigerator, arms crossed, staring at his phone like he had somewhere better to be. His wife Crystal was next to him, one hand resting on her belly. 7 months pregnant and glowing with the confidence of a woman who had never worked a day in her life. I looked at the envelope. Then I looked at my mother. Then I reached under the counter and pulled out a binder so thick it could stop a bullet. "No," I said. "And if you want to know why, I have receipts. But before I tell you what was in that binder, and before I tell you how my own family tried to steal the home I bled for, like and subscribe. Drop a comment. Tell me where you are watching from. My name is Nora Beckett. I grew up in a split-level house in Massapequa, Long Island. If you drove past it, you would think it was a nice, normal family home. Clean lawn, basketball hoop in the driveway, a golden retriever sleeping on the porch. But inside that house, there were 2 children and 2 completely different realities. I was the oldest by 4 years. Danny was the baby. And from the moment he arrived, the rules changed. Not all at once. It was slow, the way a faucet drips until one day the sink overflows. The first time I really understood was when I was 14. I had been begging my parents for a guitar for 2 years. I wanted to join the school band. I practiced on a borrowed one at my friend's house. I even wrote out a little budget showing how I could pay them back if they bought me a used one. My dad read it over breakfast. He chewed his toast and said, "Nora, money is tight right now. The furnace needs replacing. Maybe next year." I said okay. I always said okay. 3 weeks later, Danny turned 10. He wanted a PlayStation. Not just the console. He wanted the games, the extra controllers, the whole setup. My parents threw him a party at a laser tag place. 20 kids. A custom cake shaped like a race car. And on the table at home, waiting for him, was the PlayStation with 6 games stacked on top. I stood in the doorway of his room watching him tear open the wrapping paper. My mom caught my eye. She looked uncomfortable for exactly 1 second. Then she said, "Danny is younger, Nora. He needs more stimulation. You understand?" I understood. I understood that I was the practice child and Danny was the real one. The pattern held through high school. I needed a graphing calculator for AP math. Too expensive. Danny needed a new mountain bike because his friends were riding on weekends. No problem. I asked for SAT prep books. My dad said the library had free ones. Danny wanted a gaming PC for his room. My parents drove 40 minutes to Best Buy on a Saturday morning. I stopped asking. I got a job at 16, bussing tables at an Italian restaurant 6 blocks from our house. I worked Friday nights, Saturday doubles, and Sunday brunch. My hands smelled like garlic and bleach. I saved every dollar in a shoebox under my bed because I did not trust anyone else to hold my money. When college came, I was ready. I had a 3.9 gigapascals and a partial scholarship to a state school upstate. I needed help with the remaining tuition. I sat my parents down. I had a printed spreadsheet. I showed them the numbers. My dad looked at the paper and sighed that heavy sigh I knew so well. "Nora," he said, "we would love to help, but we just refinanced the house. We are stretched thin. You are a smart girl. Take out loans. It is an investment in yourself." I took out $62,000 in student loans. I moved into a dorm room with a cracked window that let in the cold all winter. I got a job at the campus bookstore during the week and waitressed at a diner on weekends. I ate ramen so often my blood was probably 30% sodium. I wore the same 3 pairs of jeans for 4 years. I made Dean's List every semester because I figured if I was going to suffer, I might as well be the best at it. 2 years into my degree, Danny graduated high school. His grades were average. He had no extracurriculars, unless you counted being cut from the basketball team twice. He wanted to go to a private university in Boston. Tuition was $58,000 a year. My parents sold the Golden Retriever's doghouse before they sold the idea to me. Just kidding. They did not sell anything. They paid for it. Full tuition. An apartment off campus so he would not have to share a bathroom. A meal plan he used maybe twice because he ate out every night. My mom posted a photo on Instagram of Danny standing in front of his dorm with a caption that said, "Our boy is off to change the world. Proud parents." I saw the post while I was eating a granola bar for dinner because I had given my last $12 to the electric bill. I called my dad. I was calm at first. "Dad," I said, "how are you paying for Danny's school when you told me there was no money for mine?" He got quiet. Then he got angry. "Do not start this, Nora. Your brother needs structure. He needs support. You have always been fine on your own. That is a compliment. Take it as one." He hung up on me. I sat on the floor of my apartment. I did not cry. I was past crying. Something inside me turned off that night, like a switch flipping. I decided I was done needing them. It was during my senior year that I met the person who changed everything. Her name was Gloria Tsai. She was the CFO of a mid-sized logistics firm where I was interning. Gloria was in her 50s, wore reading glasses on a chain, and had a voice like gravel and authority. She found me in the break room one evening reorganizing filing cabinets nobody had asked me to organize. "You are still here," she said. It was not a question. "I like to stay ahead," I said. She sat down across from me. She looked at me the way no one in my family ever had. Like I was worth studying. "You work 2 jobs," she said. "I know because I read your application. You are putting yourself through school with no help." I nodded. "Listen to me," Gloria said. She leaned forward. "The world is full of people who will use your work ethic against you. They will ride you like a horse and then complain that you are tired. You need to protect yourself." "I am," I said. "Not enough," she said. She pulled out a pen and wrote on a napkin. "Document everything. Every payment, every conversation, every time someone tells you no. Write it down. Save it. Date it. One day, someone is going to try to rewrite the story of your life, and you need to be holding the pen." I kept that napkin. I taped it inside my desk drawer. From that day forward, I recorded everything. Every bank statement, every tuition payment, every text from my parents. I bought a scanner at a thrift store and digitized it all. I did not know why yet. I just knew that Gloria told me to, and Gloria was the only adult who had ever looked at me and seen something worth saving. After graduation, I threw myself into my career. Gloria hired me full-time. Within 5 years, I was a senior operations analyst. I lived in a studio apartment in Queens that was the size of a parking space. I ate cheap. I dressed simple. I drove a 10-year-old Honda Civic with a dent in the passenger door. Every dollar I did not spend went into savings. By 27, I had paid off my student loans. The day I made the last payment, I sat in my car in the bank parking lot and screamed. Not out of sadness, out of fury. I had done it entirely alone. No help. No safety net. No parents writing checks. Just me. While I was grinding, Danny was drifting. He graduated college with a degree in communications and a resume full of nothing. He moved back home with my parents. He worked at a car dealership for 6 months, then quit. He tried real estate, then quit. He started a podcast about sports betting that got 14 listeners, 12 of whom were bots. My parents funded all of it. They gave him gas money. They paid his phone bill. They let him live rent-free in their house at 26 years old. My mom would call me and say, "Danny just needs to find his passion. He is a late bloomer." I found my brownstone on a freezing January morning. My realtor, a woman named Jackie, took me to a tree-lined street in Bedford-Stuyvesant. The building was narrow, 3 stories, red brick with a green door. It had original hardwood floors. The kitchen had been renovated with marble countertops and a farmhouse sink. The top floor had a skylight that flooded the bedroom with light. It needed work, but it had bones. Good bones. Jackie watched me touch the banister on the staircase. It was solid oak, hand-carved. "You love it," she said. "I love it," I whispered. The price was steep. $980,000. I put down $110,000 in cash. It was everything I had saved for 6 years. My hand trembled when I signed the check, but my voice did not. The deed said Nora Beckett. Just Nora. No cosigner. No family trust. Just a girl who ate ramen for a decade and finally had something that was hers. I spent 4 months renovating. I stripped the wallpaper myself. I refinished the floors on my hands and knees. I painted every room. The ground floor became my living area, an open kitchen and a living room with exposed brick. The second floor had 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. The third floor was my sanctuary, my bedroom under the skylight and a small office where I kept a fireproof safe. Inside that safe was the binder. I made the mistake of inviting my family to see it. I should not have, but the little girl inside me still wanted her mother to say she was proud. They came on a Sunday. My mom walked in and looked around like she was inspecting a crime scene. "It is very urban," she said. I think she meant black neighborhood, but I let it go. My dad checked the water pressure in the kitchen and told me the pipes were probably original and would burst in winter. Danny walked in late. He did not take off his shoes. He tracked mud across my refinished floors. He opened my fridge, grabbed a beer without asking, and flopped on my couch. "Sick place," he said, not looking up from his phone. "Must be nice to not have student loans." "I had student loans," I said quietly. "I paid them off myself." He shrugged. Crystal, his girlfriend at the time, walked around photographing everything. She posted a story on Instagram, visiting the cutest Brooklyn brownstone. #goals. #house envy. She did not mention it was mine. My mom commented with a heart emoji. They left after 2 hours. My dad shook my hand, which was strange because he had never shook my hand before. He said, "Smart investment, kid. Just make sure you can keep up with the payments." No one brought a housewarming gift. 11 months later, my phone rang on a Wednesday night. It was my mom, Nora, she said. Her voice was bright and performative, the voice she used when she wanted something. "We need to come over this weekend. Danny and Crystal have wonderful news." They arrived Saturday at noon. Crystal walked in first, wearing a tight dress that showed the early curve of a bump. She announced the pregnancy before she even said hello. I hugged her. I meant it. A baby was good news regardless of the messengers. We sat in my living room. My mom was beaming. My dad was jovial. Danny was unusually quiet. We talked about due dates and nursery colors. For 1 hour, it felt like we were a normal family. Then my mom cleared her throat. She glanced at my dad. The temperature in the room changed. I felt it in my stomach before I heard the words. "Nora," my dad said. He leaned forward and clasped his hands. "With the baby coming, Danny and Crystal need more space. Mom and Dad's house is too small. The stairs are steep. It is not safe for a newborn." "Okay," I said slowly. "So they are apartment hunting." "Not exactly," my mom said. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folder. "We have been thinking, and the best solution, the one that makes the most sense for everyone, is for Danny and Crystal to move in here." "Here," I repeated. "Into my house." "You have 3 floors, Nora," my dad said, like he was explaining math to a child. "You are 1 person. Danny is about to be a family of 3. You could take the ground floor, and they could have the upper 2. Or, better yet, you find a nice apartment somewhere and let them have the whole place." My brother finally looked at me. He had the decency to look slightly uncomfortable, but Crystal was already gazing up the staircase like she was measuring for curtains. "We talked to a lawyer," my mom said. She opened the folder. "We can do a simple transfer. You add Danny to the deed, and we all move forward as a family." I stared at the folder. The room was very quiet. I could hear the clock on my mantel ticking. I could hear Crystal breathing through her mouth. "No," I said. The silence that followed was violent. My dad's face went from friendly to furious in under a second. "Excuse me," he said. I said no. "I am not adding anyone to my deed. I am not giving up my home. Danny, you need a place to live. I suggest you start saving for one the way I did." Danny stood up. His face was red. "Are you serious right now? My wife is pregnant. We are family. You have all this space and you would rather let it sit empty than help your own brother." "I earned this space," I said. My voice was louder than I expected. "I earned it by working double shifts while you were playing video games in Mom's basement. I earned it by paying off $62,000 in loans that you never had because Mom and Dad handed you everything." My mother started crying. She cried on command. She had been doing it my whole life. "How can you be so cold, Nora? Family takes care of family." "Did family take care of me?" I asked. "When I was eating granola bars for dinner. When I was begging for help with tuition. Where was family then?" My dad stood up. He towered over me. "If you do not cooperate," he said, his voice shaking with anger, "we will take legal action. We helped you. We raised you. We have a claim to this property." "You have nothing," I said, "and you need to leave, now." They left. The door slammed so hard a picture frame fell off the wall. The glass shattered on my hardwood floor. I swept it up. I put the pieces in the trash. Then I sat in my office and opened the binder. I read through every page. My hands were steady. 10 days later, a process server knocked on my door. The lawsuit was a masterpiece of fiction. It claimed my parents had given me the down payment as a family investment. It claimed there was an oral agreement that the property would house the family. It demanded I transfer 50% ownership to Danny and pay back rent. The lawyer was a guy named Moretti from Long Island. I imagined my dad found him at the same bar where he spent most of his weekends. The social media campaign started the next day. Crystal posted a long, tearful paragraph about how her pregnant self was being denied a safe home by her own sister-in-law. Danny's friends shared it. My Aunt Linda commented, "Praying for you, Crystal. Greed destroys families." My cousin Tom, who I had not spoken to in 3 years, wrote, "Some people forget where they come from. I was being publicly executed, and the jury was my own bloodline, but they underestimated me. They thought I was still the girl with the bus money and the ramen. They forgot about the binder." I found a litigation attorney named Sandra Park through Gloria. Sandra's office was in a glass tower in Midtown Manhattan. She wore black. She spoke in short, precise sentences. She did not smile when I walked in. She pointed to a chair. "Show me what you have," she said. I placed the binder on her desk. She read for 30 minutes without speaking. She stopped at the spreadsheet where I had logged every financial request my parents denied me over 15 years. She paused at the section where I had compiled their public records, the second mortgage, the credit card statements, the liens. She closed the binder. She took off her glasses. "They have nothing," she said. I exhaled so hard my shoulders dropped 2 inches. The statute of frauds requires real estate agreements to be in writing. An oral family trust is a fairy tale. But this, she tapped the binder. This is a weapon. Sandra laid out the strategy. First, a motion for declaratory judgment, asking the court to confirm I was the sole owner based on the recorded deed. Second, a counterclaim for abuse of process and defamation. Third, and this was the part that made my stomach flip, a full financial discovery of my family. "We are going to open them up," Sandra said. "Every bank account, every credit card, every debt. If they want to claim they gave you money, they have to prove they had money to give. And I suspect they did not." She was right. The discovery revealed everything. My parents owed $143,000 on their second mortgage. They had $51,000 in credit card debt across 6 cards. My father had been making regular cash withdrawals for years. 300 here, 500 there, 800 on a single Tuesday in March. Sandra pulled up the locations. They mapped to an off-track betting parlor in Garden City and 2 online gambling platforms. He had lost over $170,000 in 5 years. That was my college fund. That was the money that was too tight to buy me a guitar. He had fed it to the horses and the poker tables, and then looked me in the face and told me money does not grow on trees. Danny was worse than I thought. He owed $44,000 in credit card debt. Crystal had a defaulted car loan and a collections judgment from a furniture store. Together, they had a combined net worth of negative $68,000. The plan was never about the baby. The Brownstone had appreciated. My equity was now worth over $400,000. If they got on the deed, they could force a refinance, pull out the cash, and pay off their spiral of debt. I was not their daughter. I was their retirement plan. The settlement conference was held on a Tuesday morning in Sandra's office. The room was on the 32nd floor. Through the windows, I could see the Brooklyn Bridge. Somewhere across that bridge was my brownstone, my home, the thing they wanted to take. They walked in looking defeated before anyone spoke. My dad had aged 10 years. He was wearing a suit that did not fit him anymore. My mom clutched a tissue. Danny was sullen. Crystal was not there. Their lawyer, Moretti, looked like a man who wished he had said no to this case. "Let us make this quick," Sandra said. She placed a packet of financial documents on the table and slid it to Moretti. "This is what we found in discovery. Mr. Moretti, I suggest you review it before your clients say another word," Moretti read. I watched his face cycle through confusion, then recognition, then something close to dread. He put the papers down. He turned to my dad. "Bob," he said quietly, using my dad's name. Is this accurate? My dad did not answer. He was staring at the table. My mom started crying again. Danny looked at the papers. What is this? What does it say? It says your father has a gambling problem, Sandra said evenly. It says your parents are insolvent. It says you and your wife are in significant debt. And it says that the reason you filed this lawsuit is not because you care about housing a baby. It is because you want to extract $400,000 in equity from a home you contributed nothing to. The room was silent except for my mother's crying. My dad's jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscles jumping. I reached into my bag. I pulled out one piece of paper, the settlement agreement. I placed it on the table. This says you drop the lawsuit with prejudice, I said. You acknowledge I am the sole owner of my home. You stop all social media harassment. And if you ever attempt anything like this again, Sandra will file for defamation and abuse of process, and these financial records become public. My dad looked at the paper like it was a snake. I am not signing that, he said. His voice was hoarse. Then we proceed to trial, Sandra said. And I will depose you about every single withdrawal you made at the Garden City OTB. Under oath. On the record. Your friends will read about it. Your neighbors will read about it. Moretti leaned over to my dad. Bob, he whispered. We cannot win this. We should not have filed this. My dad's shoulders dropped. The fight went out of him like air from a punctured tire. He picked up the pen. He signed. My mom signed without looking at me. Danny signed last. He threw the pen onto the table. He looked at me with pure hatred. You know what you are, he said. You are cold. You have always been cold. I looked at my brother. The boy who got the PlayStation while I got nothing. The man who got a free education while I worked night shifts. The person who had never once in his life been told no. I am not cold, Danny, I said. I am just done being your family's ATM. We walked out. Sandra and I rode the elevator down in silence. When the doors opened to the lobby, she looked at me. You did well, she said. I nodded. I walked outside into the November air. The sun was pale. The city was loud. I stood on the sidewalk and breathed. That was 4 months ago. I have not spoken to my family since the conference. My mom sent a card on my birthday. It said, "We miss you. Hope you're doing well." No apology. No acknowledgement of the lawsuit. No mention of the gambling. Just a Hallmark reset button. I put the card in the binder. Danny's wife, Crystal, sent me a message on Instagram. The baby was born. A girl. She is beautiful in the photos. Crystal wrote, Danny is working construction now. We are struggling with rent. If you ever want to meet your niece, we would love that. No specific request for money, but the implication hung in the air like cigarette smoke. I did not respond. It was not about anger anymore. It was about boundaries. I had learned the difference between family and people who share your last name. I refinanced the Brownstone last month. With the lawsuit dismissed and clear title, I qualified for a lower interest rate. My monthly payment dropped by $400. I used the savings to do something Gloria would have been proud of. I contacted my old university and set up a small scholarship for students working full-time while enrolled. I named it the Tsai Scholarship. When Gloria found out, she called me. She did not say much. She just said, "You turned out good, kid." It was more than my parents ever gave me. Last weekend, I hosted a dinner party in my Brownstone. Not for family. For the people who showed up when my family did not. Gloria came. Jackie, my realtor, came. Sandra came, dressed in black as always. My 2 college friends who used to share their groceries with me when I was broke came from Philadelphia. I cooked a roast with rosemary and potatoes. We opened good wine. Nobody criticized the food. Nobody checked the water pressure. Nobody tracked mud on my floors. We laughed until midnight. We talked about everything and nothing. When they left, I locked the green door behind them. I walked upstairs to my bedroom under the skylight. I lay on my bed and looked up at the stars through the glass. This was mine. All of it. The brick, the wood, the quiet. I built it, I earned it, and no one was ever going to take it from me. I know some of you watching this think I was harsh. You think family is everything. You think I should have made room. But here is what I learned. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and you certainly cannot pour for people who cracked the cup in the first place. Protecting what you have built is not selfish. It is survival. It is self-respect. And sometimes, the hardest boundary you ever set is the one between you and the people who were supposed to love you first. Have you ever had to stand up to your own family? Did they try to guilt you? Did they call you selfish? Tell me your story in the comments. I read every single one. And if this hit close to home, if you know what it feels like to be the one who always gives while everyone else takes, hit that subscribe button. You are not alone. We are stronger than they think.